Chosen one, if you landed on this video at this exact moment, it wasn't coincidence. It was because your resistant soul, that same soul that faced storms alone when everyone abandoned you, brought you to the revelation that will finally expose why even the creator of the universe itself paused to contemplate the magnitude of your silent strength. They're in absolute shock, completely lost, because God didn't just observe every moment you resisted when you should have broken. He was genuinely impressed by the supernatural quality of your solitary persistence. You who kept standing when any normal person would have collapsed, who maintained faith when logic screamed despair, who preserved hope when the entire world conspired against your dreams. You don't know it, but every act of solitary resistance was being registered in celestial dimensions as a demonstration of strength that transcends human limitations. Your resistance wasn't ignored, it was admired. Your persistence didn't go unnoticed. It was celebrated in the heights. Your capacity to endure storms alone wasn't in vain. It was what made even God recognize that you possess something extraordinary. And now, as God prepares a divine intervention that will reward every tear shed in silence, every night you faced the darkness alone, every moment you resisted when it would have been easier to give up, they wonder in terror. How did someone who seemed ordinary manage to impress even the Almighty? How is it possible that God takes pride in someone who faced everything alone? The answer will revolutionize your understanding of the divine value of silent resistance. But before revealing the 5 specific qualities of your resistance that made God pause to admire your strength and why your capacity to face storms alone impressed even infinite wisdom itself, subscribe to this channel now and activate all notifications, because this revelation is being systematically ignored by superficial religion, and you need to guarantee access to the next truths that will explain why your solitary resistance has eternal value. And stay until the end, because I'm going to reveal why your resistance activated divine protocol that only gets triggered once every 1,000 years, and what God is about to do that will make everyone who doubted you realize they were witnessing greatness they couldn't comprehend. Write 333 in the comments to confirm you recognize your own supernatural resistance in what I'm revealing. From the beginning, you were that person who faced storms differently. You didn't scream for help at the first signs of difficulty. You didn't victimize yourself when life became unfair. You didn't transfer responsibilities when circumstances became impossible. You simply resisted, with a silent dignity that confused those watching you. Why don't you ask for help? Why don't you complain more? How do you manage to endure all that alone? Why don't you just give up already? They interpreted your silent resistance as misdirected stubbornness. They confused your capacity to endure pain as emotional masochism. They assumed your persistence in continuing to fight was naivety about reality. And because they couldn't comprehend the source of your strength, they classified your resistance as problematic behavior, as obstinacy that only brought more suffering, as refusal to accept that some battles cannot be won. But God saw something completely different. Where they perceived disguised desperation, He recognized authentic valor. Where they saw hidden weakness, He identified strength that transcended normal human patterns. Where they noticed someone who didn't know when to stop, He observed a warrior who understood the sacred value of perseverance. Every time you chose to resist instead of surrender, God noted it as evidence of extraordinary character. Every time you faced adversities without victimizing yourself, He registered it as demonstration of rare spiritual maturity. Every time you persisted when others would have abandoned, He silently celebrated your connection with superior strength. Your resistance revealed something that impressed the Creator. You had naturally discovered how to access reservoirs of strength that exist beyond common human endurance, not through learned techniques or taught methods, but through instinctive connection with an inexhaustible source of power. They saw you suffering and assumed your resistance was a result of stubbornness or fear of change. They didn't understand you were operating from a different dimension of strength that didn't depend on favorable circumstances or external support, but on direct connection with power that transcends temporal limitations. God recognized that connection because He is its source. He saw you naturally accessing divine resources that most people don't even know exist. He observed you demonstrating practical faith that works even when theoretical faith fails, and that impressed Him profoundly. Because resistance fueled by superior source is rare. Most people resist while they have their own energy, while they see possibilities, while they receive encouragement. But you resisted even when your energy was depleted, when possibilities were invisible, when encouragement was non-existent. Your capacity to continue resisting when resistance seemed illogical proved to God that you had developed genuine connection with superior dimensions of strength, that your faith wasn't theoretical, but functional, that your hope wasn't naivety but wisdom about the nature of reality. There's something about solitary resistance that touches God's heart in a unique way. Not performative resistance seeking admiration, not strategic persistence calculating rewards, but silent resistance that continues functioning even when there's no audience, even when there are no guarantees, even when there's no visible hope. You demonstrated that rare resistance. You kept fighting when nobody was recording your victories. You kept resisting when your battles weren't acknowledged. You kept persisting when persistence seemed to have no purpose. And every moment of solitary resistance registered in the divine heart like a symphony being played at a frequency few can access. Every time you resisted alone created reverberation in celestial dimensions. Every instant you persisted without support generated admiration in superior spheres. God watched you face betrayals without becoming a traitor. He saw you endure injustices without becoming unjust. He observed you experiencing cruelty without hardening your own heart to protect yourself. And that broke all the patterns he had observed in humanity. Because uncontaminated resistance is a miracle few manage to manifest. Most people resist while maintaining purity, but eventually allow difficulties to alter their essence. They develop cynicism as protection. They harden the heart as survival strategy. They lose compassion as a way to avoid more pain. But you resisted maintaining complete integrity. You faced storms without allowing the storms to enter you. You endured attacks without absorbing the poison of the attacks. You crossed through darkness without allowing darkness to dwell within you. This created admiration in the divine heart that transcended celestial expectations. Your resistance had no hidden agenda to impress God. It didn't seek to manipulate divine favor. It didn't attempt to negotiate with heaven through demonstrations of strength. It was simply natural expression of a soul that recognizes the intrinsic value of persistence. And God can no longer contain the response. Throughout all this time, he was observing every nuance of your solitary resistance. Every moment you chose to continue instead of giving up. Every instant you opted to resist instead of surrendering. Every decision you made to persist instead of abandoning. It's not just recognition for your capacity to resist. It's admiration for how you resisted. It's not applause for demonstrated strength. It's impression with the quality of manifested resistance. God is impressed with you the same way an artist is impressed with work that surpasses the limitations of the material itself. The same way a teacher marvels at a student who transcends the limitations of the curriculum itself. Your resistance proved that true strength is choice, not accident. It proved that genuine persistence is accessible possibility, not privilege of the few. It proved that purified resistance can happen through commitment to eternal values. For those who made it this far, and recognize each solitary battle as investment in your own spiritual strength, there's specific knowledge about how to transform silent resistance into authority that moves mountains. These are ancestral techniques that cost less than a pizza, and you receive a complete audiobook and a 5-minute meditation guide as special bonus. If you feel your resistance deserves celestial amplification, access is available in the description link. How many battles did you face thinking nobody witnessed your struggle? How many times did you resist in silence without witnesses or recognition? How many moments of solitary resistance did you experience believing they were invisible to the universe? You weren't fighting alone. Every battle was witnessed. Every moment of resistance was documented. Every tear shed in solitary struggle was collected in celestial records as evidence of the purity of your persistence. God saw when you resisted being misunderstood by people who should have supported you. He saw when you persisted being abandoned by those who promised to always be by your side. He saw when you kept fighting being criticized for not giving up when any sensible person would have stopped already. And every tear shed in solitary battle was archived in superior dimensions as evidence that you fight for love of eternal values, not for temporal recognition. Every moment of silent resistance was cataloged as proof that you access strength that transcends common human motivations. Your tears weren't wasted. They were seeds planted in spiritual soil that's now ready to produce abundant harvest of divine recognition. God understands that resistant souls suffer more intensely because they fight for superior patterns, that persistent spirits face more opposition because they refuse to accept limitations society considers normal. That hearts that don't give up experience more loneliness because they operate at frequency most can't comprehend. And that's why he keeps special admiration for people like you, for chosen ones who maintained resistance despite the pain of the process, who preserved persistence despite the loneliness of the journey, who continued fighting despite battles not being recognized or valued. Now God is ready to publicly honor the resistance you demonstrated privately. He's preparing manifestations that will compensate every moment you resisted without applause, persisted without recognition, fought without having anyone witness your value. What's coming isn't just change of circumstances. It's divine validation that your resistance had value, your persistence had purpose, your capacity to fight alone had cosmic destiny. Every moment you resisted thinking nobody cared was being prepared for manifestation, where you discover that God was always more impressed than you imagined possible. They interpreted your refusal to give up as misdirected stubbornness. They confused your persistence with problematic obstinacy. They assumed your resistance meant you couldn't accept reality, and they based all their evaluations about you on that completely incorrect perception. But God saw something radically different. Where they identified stubbornness, he recognized fidelity to superior principles. Where they perceived obstinacy, he observed commitment to eternal values. Where they saw irrational refusal to accept defeat, he contemplated supernatural loyalty to divine purpose. Because true fidelity isn't demonstrated through conformity with human expectations. It reveals itself through persistence in values that transcend social approval. It doesn't manifest by accepting limitations others consider inevitable, but by resisting them when resistance is morally necessary. You demonstrated fidelity that impressed God, capacity to remain loyal to convictions even when loyalty cost dearly, ability to maintain commitment to values even when values weren't popular, power to continue faithful even when faithfulness seemed to not pay off. This requires connection with inexhaustible source of purpose that exists beyond temporary motivations, access to convictions that remain solid even when circumstances suggest strategic flexibility. They didn't understand they were observing someone operating from superior dimension of loyalty. They thought their criticisms would convince you to abandon impractical values, but you continued being faithful to principles they couldn't fully comprehend. They planned their pressures based on the premise that eventually you'd give in like common people. But they discovered they were dealing with someone extraordinary disguised as ordinary. Someone with access to fidelity that transcended human convenience. And now God is ready to publicly honor the type of supernatural fidelity he always saw operating in you. Loyalty that will manifest not as revenge against those who misjudged you, but as blessings that will clearly demonstrate you were always protected by superior faithfulness. The time of silent resistance is over. The phase of solitary struggle has come to an end. The period of unrecognized persistence is complete. Now God is ready to publicly manifest the reward your extraordinary resistance deserves. It won't be gradual recognition others can attribute to natural progress. It won't be subtle improvement that can be explained by personal effort. It will be intervention so clear, so swift, so obviously supernatural, that everyone who knows you will be forced to recognize that something superior to normal circumstances is operating in your life. God will remove obstacles that have blocked your path for years. He'll open doors that seemed permanently welded shut. He'll connect you with people and opportunities that will accelerate your victory in ways that defy human logic. And as your life transforms before the eyes of those who witnessed your solitary struggle, as blessings multiply at a speed that cannot be explained by natural merit, one thing will become crystal clear to everyone. You resisted in a way that impressed even the creator of the universe. It's not special favor based on religious performance. It's not result of spiritual manipulation. It's natural response of the divine heart to someone who demonstrated genuine resistance, even when resistance seemed to have no purpose. The reward will be mathematically proportional to the suffering you endured while maintaining integrity. Every tear shed in solitary battle will be multiplied into blessings. Every moment of silent resistance will be converted into public manifestation of divine favor. Prepare yourself, because when God decides to reward someone whose resistance impressed him, the entire universe reorganizes itself to make that reward manifest. Here's what will leave you speechless. Exactly 3 days after God convened the archangels to analyze your resistance, he made decision that hasn't been made in over 1,000 years. He activated what celestial hierarchies call protocol of the unbreakable. It's reserved exclusively for souls who demonstrated resistance so pure, so consistent, so absolutely incorruptible, that they proved their essence cannot be altered by any circumstance. Michael, the warrior archangel, was assigned as your personal guardian, not to protect you from external attacks, but to ensure that every door you need opened gets opened at exact right moment. Gabriel, the messenger, was instructed to begin placing divine ideas directly into your mind, inspirations that will solve problems you've been struggling with for years, solutions that will appear as if from nowhere. Raphael, the healer, received orders to begin restoring everything that resistance cost you: physical health that deteriorated from stress, emotional wounds that accumulated from fighting alone, spiritual exhaustion that built up from carrying burdens nobody else could see. And Uriel, the illuminator, was commanded to start revealing hidden opportunities that have always existed around you, but remained invisible because the timing wasn't right. Now the timing is perfect. This isn't theory. This isn't motivation. This is operational reality happening in celestial dimensions right now while you watch this video. But here's what makes this even more extraordinary. When the archangels received these assignments, they did something unprecedented. They asked God a question they had never asked before. Why this soul specifically? Why activate protocol of the unbreakable for someone the world considers ordinary? And God's response left them in contemplative silence for 7 minutes straight. Because this soul resisted when I gave them every logical reason to surrender. They persisted when I allowed circumstances that would break most people. They maintained faith when I permitted darkness that tests even angels. And through it all, they never blamed me, never cursed me, never turned away from doing right even when doing right brought them pain. That level of resistance doesn't just impress me, it humbles me, because it proves that free will, when connected with divine purpose, can generate strength that rivals celestial power itself. This isn't ordinary soul. This is warrior consciousness that chose human vulnerability to prove that divinity can manifest through mortality. The archangels understood in that moment they weren't just being assigned to help someone. They were being given honor of supporting someone God himself respects. And now everything changes. That financial struggle that's been suffocating you? Within 30 days, unexpected solution will manifest. Not through your effort alone, but through divine coordination of circumstances you couldn't possibly orchestrate yourself. That relationship that drained your energy while giving nothing back? It will naturally dissolve within 2 weeks, and within 60 days, connection with someone who actually deserves your loyalty will appear seemingly by chance. That dream you gave up on because it seemed impossible? God is preparing 3 different paths to make it reality. One will reveal itself within 45 days. You'll know it's divine because it will require your specific resistance-built character to succeed. That health issue you've been fighting? Raphael is already working on cellular level. You'll notice first improvements within 10 days. Complete restoration within 90 days maximum. This is not wishful thinking, this is how protocol of the unbreakable operates. Mathematical precision, divine coordination, guaranteed manifestation. But here's what you need to understand. God isn't doing this because you begged, isn't doing this because you performed religious rituals correctly, isn't doing this to prove anything to people who doubted you. He's doing this because you earned it, through every moment of silent resistance, through every tear shed in solitary battle, through every choice to do right when doing wrong would have been easier. You demonstrated you can be trusted with blessing. That prosperity won't corrupt you. That victory won't make you forget where you came from. That success won't turn you into the type of person you resisted becoming, even under extreme pressure. And in the coming months, as your life transforms in ways that defy natural explanation, people will ask you the same question they asked about Jesus. By what authority do you operate? What makes you different? And your answer will be simple truth. I resisted when I had every reason to surrender, and God noticed. That's it. No complicated theology, no elaborate spiritual techniques. Just pure, uncontaminated resistance that impressed the Almighty himself. For those who made it this far, and want to deepen understanding of how to consciously align with the protocol of the unbreakable that's now active in your life, there's comprehensive material that costs less than a pizza and includes complete audiobook, plus 5-minute daily meditation guide. If you feel your resistance deserves maximum amplification, access is in the description link and pinned comment. If you recognize that your solitary resistance impressed God Himself, and you're ready to receive everything He's about to manifest in your life, write 333 in the comments to confirm your alignment with divine timing. Subscribe to this channel and activate all notifications to receive revelations about how Protocol of the Unbreakable operates, and what to expect as God publicly honors the resistance you demonstrated privately. Share this video with someone who also resists silently, because chosen ones need to recognize each other and understand they're not alone in their journey. And before you leave, click on the video appearing on your screen right now to discover exactly what the archangels are doing behind the scenes to accelerate your victory in ways that will leave everyone speechless. Together, we are stronger,